I want to start by saying Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Yahabashai, Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Yahabashai. Call Yahweh by Hashem Yahabashai. Call Yahweh by Hashem Yahabashai, by Hashem Makakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone that taught me this doctrine in truth and sincerity. Shalom to the elect. The Heavenly Father's name is Yahweh, which means He is or He exists. By Hashem, in the name of His only begotten Son, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, we know His name to be Yahabashai, which means He is the deliverer, He is the Savior for the Hebrew Israelites and the pedigree of Father. By Hashem, in the name of the Rakak Wadash, which means the Holy Spirit, that's able to give us the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of who we are, which are the true Hebrew Israelites. If you're so-called Negro, so-called Latino, so-called Native American, or other speckled bird, looking like the other nations, and your spirit bear witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh Hashem Awashai, then you could be one of the elect. Shalom. We've been discontinued from our heritage because we went off falling after false gods and false idols, not following the law, such a commandments that was given to us by our forefathers. And because of those offenses, we were sent into captivity. But through our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach being that perfect sacrifice in the flesh to the Heavenly Father, He's been given all power to be able to sit on the right-hand side of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, to be able to open the seals of the Holy Scriptures, to be able to give the understanding to the very elect, the ones that would hear this word and return back to Yahweh Hashem Shai, and the things they say, the things they do, and will be able to understand the spirit of prophecy, which is the spirit of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach in His second coming, that there's going to be a time of great destruction, woe, sorrows, and mournings. And only in Yahweh Shema Shai there is salvation for the very elect, the ones that would give diligence to make their call election short. So I want to start right here. This is from the peoplesvoice.tv. It says, Palantir ex-employee warns WEF-linked company launching American social credit system worse than China. Okay, so a social credit system, just look it up. Is a way to control the people and what they're doing. Okay, you have it over there in China, right, where they're a communist country, and now America is bringing it over here through, through biometrics, through geofencing, controlling the people. You just had on July 4th, the big beautiful bill was signed by Trump, okay, which is ultimately to bring in where at the state level, they can't say anything going into the vote. Okay, the vote is what going away. Okay, those mayors and those governors, they're not going to be able to help you because now it's what federal. As far as they can track and trace you, see who you are, see, and then they need to identify every person. They need to track and trace every person. Okay, this is all part of their New World Order, Novus Ordo Seclorum, which is on the back of our bill. Okay, so social credit system in China is a national plan to evaluate trustworthiness of citizens and businesses. So this goes into also, if you're speaking out against your president, okay, then you can have a lower social credit score. If you're, basically kissing the president's ass, then you're gonna have a higher social credit. Okay, and this is gonna create where a man's foe shall be of his own household. People are gonna be one against another. Okay, because what is the wicked doing, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man doing? He's molding, basically the perfect niggard, okay, the perfect zombie, okay, and ultimately that zombie is going to end up taking that physical chip inside the hand of the forehead, and this is what causing division. Okay, so it says a national plan to evaluate trustworthiness of citizens and businesses, and aims to improve social honesty, and reduce social contradictions. Yeah, so this goes into censorship. Okay, foster more harmonious society by tracking, and rating individuals, organizations based on their behavior and compliance with laws and regulations. Okay, this is what an unrighteous decree. Okay, because they're basically telling you to be a good citizen. Meanwhile, the whole the whole system of America, of Babylon the Great, of the world is what corrupt. Okay, so this would be an unrighteous decree to bring in that social credit system. That's why the state and they had, they were against it. Okay, but remember that them being against it just means that that's the Hegelian dialectic, where you have two opposing parties, the Democrat and the Republican, and they act like they're against each other, but they're both for the New World Order. Because what this does is it strips everybody's rights away as far as at the state level, and it brings it at a federal level where they're ultimately going to take away the Constitution and bring in martial law. Okay, that's why you have the uproars of the people. That's why you have the pestilence. Okay, Isaiah 10:1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees are right grievous is which they have prescribed. So woe means destruction or doom or terror. Decree is what a law. Okay, and they're what writing them down and what their legislation. Okay, and ultimately, and then what their executive orders, that if this happens, this this national emergency or this pestilence happens, then we can be able to what bring in this. Okay, because they have prescribed, they're unfair to what to the poor. Okay, who are the poor? The so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, so-called Native Americans. We are at the bottom. Okay, we are what defenseless. Okay, but the Lord said, "Be not afraid," because the Lord is what with us. He's with us to the end of the earth. But we have to what be woken up to who Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, which are the names of power. And not everybody has been woken up, only the elect. Isaiah 10, and so this is a translation comparison. This is Isaiah 10:1 in the NET. Those who enact unjust policies are good as dead. Okay? And these are unjust policies, what to the people? Because what does it create? It creates the poor and the rich. Okay, there's no middle class. They knocked out the middle class with the tariffs. Okay, with the hyperinflation. Okay, making it where people can't even pay, to be able to keep their business alive. It doesn't even make sense for them to have a business because they're not making any money. Okay, constant debt, and that's what it is. And what the society of Babylon the Great, which is America, is you're in constant debt trying to keep up with the Joneses, and then what these devils keep, basically moving the goalposts. Okay, far as on what they actually want. Why? Because what they want is what total control. They don't want a nation full of what thinkers telling them what to do. They want a nation full of slaves, and they don't want people to be on their own, where they have their own businesses and things like that. They want to be under what control, under these elites. Okay. So Isaiah 10:1 in the NET. Those who enact unjust policies are good as dead. Those who are always instituting unfair regulations, and so these are unfair to the people. Okay, but who do they benefit? Cui bono in the Latin. Who benefits from these unrighteous decrees? Okay, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, the one that's at top. And that's going to create a society where if you say anything, then you won't be able to do certain things. Okay, you won't be able to, travel on the train or take the bus or live in a certain area because of your viewpoints. Okay, they're cutting off what, as far as the First Amendment. Okay, the right to have what free speech, to believe what you want. They're taking that away. That do is that will spirit is beginning to go away, and now you have to follow what that satanic spirit of what the image of the beast, which the image of the beast, or the beast, is what NATO and EU and America, what spearheading the charge of that, the revival of the Roman Empire. Their image is what their man on man, woman on woman, bestiality, pedestry, satanic worship. Okay, their 2030 agenda. Okay, and those that see them as gods or see them as good people, they're going to end up taking the RFID chip because they're going to take it because of what convenience. They're going to see it as easier because there's going to be chaos everywhere. There's going to be bloodshed everywhere. Okay, there's going to be family members turning on one another because they want food or they want, to have certain luxuries or whatever the case may be. Okay, Isaiah 29:21, that make a man offender for a word. Let me actually start from 20. Yeah, let me actually start from 18. Isaiah 29:18. In that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book. Okay, because the Lord had once what closed our eyes or closed our ears. Okay, but now we can be able to hear, where the Lord can be able to sup with us and give us what intimate knowledge and intimate wisdom. In that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book. So the book of what this knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Okay, the scriptures. And the eyes of the blind shall see out of the obscurity and out of the darkness. So we would be able to what see the Lord's vision. Okay, through the Lord, what giving us this light to be able to light up our temple. Okay, we're able to see the darkness of this world. Okay, we're able to see the wickedness of this world. We're able to see the mockers and the scoffers. We're able to see the wicked devices through the power of Yahweh Shema Shai, because the Lord had given us eyes to see and ears to hear. Okay, the hopeful elect. The meek also shall increase their joy in Yahweh, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. Because though we are poor, we are what? Rich in faith. Okay, and meek goes into what? Being humble. Okay, understanding that we have done wrong in our past life and in this life. Okay, but the only way to go is down that straight path. Okay, and the Lord wants us to be what? Meek and lowly, not proud and boastful. Those that proud and boastful, okay, are going to end up caught up in the destruction. Okay, those that tempt the Lord are going to pierce themselves through with many sorrows. Okay, because every idle word is going to be accounted in the day of judgment. Let's read this in the NLT. The humble will be filled with the fresh and joy for Yahweh. The poor will rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. Okay, and that's what we're doing. We're rejoicing in Yahweh Shema Shai because the Lord is making us rich through through this faith, through this hope, through this wisdom. Okay, because remember that the wisdom of Yahweh Shema Shai is more precious than any fine gold. Okay, you're gonna have people that are gonna invest in carnal riches and invest in elites, being in these different militias. Okay, but those cardinal things and those are not going to be able to work. Only the spiritual things are going to be able to work, right? And they're only going to work for the elect. Proverbs 16:16. How much better is to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather than be chosen silver, because that gold and silver is going to be tossed in the street. Okay, and while the spiritual wisdom is going to be able to light up the eyes of the elect to be able to, Lord willing, be saved, to be guided down that straight path. The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. Okay, yeah, the highway of the upright going into what? The virtuous. Okay, as far as you actually have integrity. Okay, you have a lot of men that don't have integrity, where they're selling their souls, for that money, for that bag. Okay, to be liked, to have prestige, when this society is what's circling the drain. So the highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. Yet him that keepeth the way of what? Yahweh Shema Shai shall be safe, even though there's going to be a time of Jacob's trouble. Okay, Yahweh Shai said, "Be of good cheer. I've overcome the world." Let me actually get it. And they're speaking about an event that's going to be happening, because they need an event to be able to bring in this certain type of legislation, because people are already against it. And you have where the internet is out there and people are exposing that big beautiful bill and what it actually is, because it's like a 1,000-page bill, and in it has certain things that's able to track and trace everybody, which takes away people's so-called privacy and things like that. But the case is that you don't have no privacy in the society. This is not your rest. Okay, you might have your own house or your own apartment, but that ain't yours. You might have your money in your bank account, but that ain't yours, because remember, this devil is in power. Okay, and our trust is in Yahweh Shema Shai. That's the only relationship that this devil cannot deal with. Okay, he can't touch that. Nothing, Romans 8:30 goes into it. Nothing can be able to separate us from the Lord. Okay, so John 16:33, these things I have spoken unto you, that you might have peace in the world. You shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. Okay, so be of peace, right? When in the world, let me read it again. These things I have spoken unto you. So this knowledge, wisdom, understanding, that you might have peace in the world. So we have peace with our Savior. Okay, but with this world is wicked. Okay, going into never trust thine enemy, for like iron is rusted. Okay, if someone's not in this truth, they're basically not to be trusted. Okay, because our relationship is with the Lord, and you have to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, right? And you have a lot of people that are going to turn on each other. Okay, so-called friends are going to be enemies in the end, right? So John 16:33, these things I have spoken unto you, that you might have peace in the world. You shall have tribulation. Be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. So there's going to be tribulation. We understand that. Okay, but the Lord has given us this truth. Okay, and we understand that this right here, Proverbs 16:18, pride go before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. So you have Esau, Edom, he's at his proudest level ever. Okay, where they have the implant, as far as the Neuralink, and they're getting, people are liking it. People want to, sign up for it. So that's in their pride. They're rolling out that big beautiful bill. Okay, they're rolling out Palantir, which is a way to be able to track everybody through their data, through their debit card and through their financial records, ultimately bringing in the social credit score. So they're at their height of their peak of their pride, but actually it's their twilight of their kingdom. Pride go before destruction, haughty spirit before a fall. Better is to be of the humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. So it's better to be at a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud, because you have a lot of Israelites that are gonna sell out. Okay, they're gonna sell out, but then they act the form of godliness, but they're actually of this world. Okay, but again, the truth is gonna reveal everything. So Isaiah 29 and 18, in that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity out of the darkness. So the elect would be able to see and also hear the truth. And they would be what? The meek also shall increase their joy in Yahweh, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. So we wouldn't be rich, okay, as far as cardinal rich, but we would be rich in what? Faith, and this knowledge, wisdom, understanding. For terrible is brought to naught. Yeah, so the terrible, the scoffer, the mocker, right, is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed. Yeah, they're going to be consumed by what the words they have spoken, and because the tongue is a very little member, but that tongue can lead to health, or it can lead to what having your whole body on fire. James 3 and 9. Okay, because every idle word is going to be accounted in the day of judgment. For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed. All that watch for iniquity are cut off. Yeah, so all that are, planning on their New World Order, planning on getting rich off the enslavement of people, okay, they're going to disappear, ultimately being deleted. So the scoffer will be gone, 20 in the NLT, the scoffer will be gone, the arrogant will disappear, those who plot evil will be killed. Those who convict the innocent, because that's what they're going to be doing, they're going to be calling us extremists, radicalists when we're just reading the scriptures. Because remember that our weapons of warfare are not carnal. How we wound our adversaries by what? Bringing out these scriptures, that holy sword, 2 Maccabees 15 and 15. Those who convict the innocent by their false testimony will disappear. A similar fate awaits those who use trickery, because they're going to use the wiles of the devil. They're going to use your family members to be able to deceive you. They're going to use your jobs, far as, we'll take away your job if you don't do this, you don't say this. Okay, going into that social credit score. Those who convict the innocent by their false testimony will disappear. A similar fate awaits those who use trickery to pervert justice and who tell lies to destroy the innocent. Okay, and they're going to be telling lies to destroy innocent, right? Framing mischief by law. Okay. And in the end of this movie, the churl is not going to be the good guy. Okay. And he's showing what his teeth do with that legislation right there. Right? So Isaiah 32 and 5. The vile person shall no more be called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful. So the liberal is the person that's, they want they want to help everybody. Okay? But that vile person is what being shown, which is what the ungodly shall no more be called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful. So a churl is a niggard. Okay, and that's who Esau Edom is. He'll present himself as a good guy, but meanwhile, in it, he's a raging serial killer. Okay, waiting to take you down and ready to deceive you. Okay, and the NLT, in the day the ungodly fools will not be heroes, scoundrels will not be respected, and that's what any of these public officials are. Any of these celebrities, they're all scoundrels. Okay, because they're all following the ungodly. Okay, they're not going to be respected because they're all part of the plan of their New World Order to deceive the people. Okay, that's called the wiles of the devil, the craftiness and the trickiness of this devil. Devil means deceiver. Okay, which is Esau Edom, the so-called white men, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Oppenheimers, the DuPonts, the Warburgs, the Schiffs. Remember, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Okay, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. That's why the people are mourning, because what the wicked are in authority. Okay, which is the so-called white men of today, which is the scoundrel. 5 in the NLT, in that day the ungodly fools will not be heroes, scoundrels will not be respected. For fools speak foolishness and make evil plans, and they practice ungodliness and spread false teachings about the Lord Yahweh. They would deprive the hungry of food and give no water to the thirsty. Because that's what they're also doing. They're cutting off the principal things, that if you say certain things, you're not going to be able to have food and water. Okay? And also what's spiritual. Okay, because if you believe in the Bible, they don't want you to believe in the Bible. They want to take away the Bible. So that goes into that food that's what's spiritual, which is the manna that comes from Yahushua. Also that water, which is the spiritual water. Okay, he that believeth in him shall flow rivers of living water. So they want to cut off that relationship that we have with the Lord. Okay, physical and also what's spiritual. Okay, the smooth tricks, yeah, because these are very smooth tricks because they're bringing it through their legislation. Okay, and people are gonna say, well, it's law, we gotta follow that. Okay, but not understanding that when that marker that it speaks about in the scriptures, obey with that adversary quickly, right? But when it comes down to this chip, okay, that's when it's different. Okay, because the Lord's gonna lift up that standard for His elect. The Lord's gonna protect us in the hour of temptation. Okay, the Lord's going to show who he's actually supping with, that he's not supping with Esau, Edom. Okay, by what intervening, he's going to get, far as Esau, Edom, he's going to get a lot of people to take that RFID chip. Okay, but the elect are not going to bow down to it because they're going to be protected. That's when the Lord's going to lift up the defense physically. Remember, it's a righteous thing to recompense our enemies. Okay, and we're not doing this just for nothing. The Lord spoke about that he would save us. We're remaining faithful. Lord willing to the end. Okay, and the Lord is not, again, unrighteous to forget our works in vain. We understand that the Lord is with us. That's something that you have to let me get that. Psalms 18:2. The Lord Yahweh is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my power, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler, my horn of my salvation, and my high tower. Okay, and the Lord has given us what the name of that high tower. The name of the Lord is a high tower, and the righteous run into it is safe. Okay, and his name is what? Yahweh. That tower goes into what? Safety. Safety to be able to protect you, to be a protection, a buckler, to be able to deliver you from our enemies. Okay, and Yahushua being what? The Savior. Remember the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Lord, all capital right there. Yahweh sent what? Yahushua to be the horn of our salvation. Okay, and he didn't just do that for no reason. He did it to be able to ultimately save all Israel, but in this time it would only be the elect of Israel. 2/3 of our people that they're disobedient to the Lord, they're going to have to die a grievous death on this side, but they will come back in the bowels of the elect in the kingdom of heaven, which will be here on earth. But you have to believe in this statement right here. Psalms 18:2. The Lord Yahweh is my rock, okay, and my fortress, my deliverer, my power, my strength, in whom I trust, my buckler, my horn, and my salvation, and my high tower. This has to be what embedded inside your heart, okay, because there is no other way, right? There is no other way. Psalms 62:5. My soul, wait thou upon thy power, for my expectation is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense, because you have a lot of people, they're going to trust in their government. They're going to say their government is their rock. Remember that their government is the rock of what? Sodom and Gomorrah. It's all what? That vine of, let me get that. Because their rock, their foundation is not our rock. Deuteronomy 32:31. For their rock is not our, for their rock, see how it's lowercase? For their rock is not as our rock, right? Rock, capital, that's our Lord Yahushua. Even our enemies themselves being judges. Yeah, they recognize it. Okay, because we actually have that relationship. They don't have the relationship with the Lord because Esau, Edom was perfect. So anything they offer you is what? Carnal. They can't offer you nothing spiritual. Okay, that's why they're offering you what? The carnal chip. Deuteronomy 32:32. For their vine is the vine of Sodom. And what is our vine? Our vine is what? Yahushua. Okay, and we're John 15 goes into that. We are what? The branches of the Lord. Okay, for of the elect, right? That vine is what? Yahushua, and we are the branches of that vine. While their vine is what? For their vine is the vine of Sodom and the fields of Gomorrah, and their grapes are the grapes of Gal, and the clusters are bitter. Yeah, because that's ultimately what it leads to, is what? No sweet parts. Okay, it's all bitter. Remember, the Lord gave us the sweet as well as the bitter, which is the Holy Scriptures, while Esau, Edom is only giving you the bitter part. Okay, right? Basically self-glorification, something that's microwavable. Okay, it's for a short period of time. It's not everlasting like the Lord's promises. Okay, and Sodom means to be what? Burning. And Gomorrah means to be submersed. That's what's going to happen to Babylon the Great. It's going to be burning, submersed in what? A great lake of fire, which is here in America. And those that follow the ways of America, okay, the ways of Babylon the Great, are also going to get caught up in that lake of fire for those icy beam missiles that are flying from one end of the earth to what's the other, right? Because those that take the chip, those that take the RFID chip, are going to have no rest in or night, ulcer or cancer, and they're going to get caught up in those missiles firing down. Okay, if you take that chip, there is no salvation. Okay, there is no salvation because that's the end time. That would be considered the hour of temptation. Okay, and only the elect is going to be able to be saved in this the coming judgment day of the Lord. Okay, Deuteronomy 32 and 33. Their vine, so their philosophies, right, is the poison of dragons and cruel venom of asps. So that's what it is. Okay, it's like taking venom from a snake. Okay, and that is that same serpent that was in the garden, Esau, Edom. So that's why Psalm 62, this has to be embedded inside your mind as far as in your temple, right? My soul, wait thou upon that power. Psalm 62 and 5. My soul, wait thou upon that power, for my expectation is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. And my power is my salvation and glory, the rock of my refuge, the rock of my strength. And my refuge is in the Most High. Trust in him at all times, because we're headed into a time of great chaos. Okay, where they have to have an event to be able to lock things down. Okay, and to be able to bring in their New World Order. Because just because they passed that legislation, they also need the chaotic event to be able to truly justify it. Okay, because remember, Esau Edom, he always wants to be a hero, as far as in the, in the scheme of things, he wants to be the hero, but remember that he's the villain. Okay, so Psalm 62 and 8, trust in him at all times, but the Lord is revealing him. Okay, exactly who he is. So he's gonna eventually show his whole character, which he's doing if you're watching. Okay, trust in him at all times, you people. Pour out your heart, so pour out your mind going into your prayers. Before him, our power is our refuge for us, Salah. Okay, so that's our power. While the rest of the world, they're going to trust in the instruments of the churl. Okay, they're going to trust in the convenience, right? So Isaiah 32 and 7, the instruments of the churl are evil. Okay, he devises wicked devices. He destroys the poor with lying words. Even when they needy, he speaketh right. So even when we're speaking right things, they still want to destroy us. Why? Because we're hewing this place. We're cutting it down and breaking it down asunder. We're saying, this is the devil because look at what he's doing. He matches up to the scriptures. Okay. Okay, let's look up what a churl is. Kalau, scoundrel, knave, okay, niggardly, right? And that's exactly what Esau Edom is. He's a niggard at the table, okay? And what does he want to do? He wants to take everything off your table and give you nothing. He wants to take everything off your table and give you a chip, so he can be able to track and trace you and tell you what to say and what to do. Okay, going into his God complex.
Strong's H 3596. He lie. He lie.
He lied. So it sounds like he lied.
Second entry. K lie. K lie.
Okay, let's look up what a scoundrel is. A scoundrel is a term used to describe a dishonest, unprincipled, villainous person, and that's what Esau Edom is. Because in the movie, in the script of Yahweh, right, the villain is what Esau Edom. Okay, he is the antagonist of the movie, right, and what Jacob is the protagonist, which is the good guy. Okay, so the so-called white man is playing his role. He is the vessel of wrath fitted for destruction. Okay, he's playing the scoundrel. It's his A dishonest, unprincipled, or a villainous person, often one who engages in deceitful. Yep, because the bill is deceitful, because they're acting like they want to help. Meanwhile, it's all deception. Or morally questionable behavior. Yeah, because now you want to track and trace everybody and take everybody's privacy away. Okay. Meanwhile, that's one of the things that you were, standing upon is what free speech. You can say whatever you want. Now they're taking that away. Why? Because people are exposed. They're losing the information battle. So they're deviseth, right?
Strong's H3289. Yaats.
Okay, they're conspiring together. And what is conspiring? It means two or more gathered together to do evil. Okay, and now what? They have two or more. They have 193 countries that have consulted together to bring in what the digital cooperation. Okay, the UN Pact for the Future. Okay, but now it's just being shown, out there. As far as, again, Esau Edom is being made bare. Okay, it's been shown that it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy truth. Okay, determine, devise, guide, consult, and who are they getting their counsel from? Okay, the counsels of the wicked, the monthly prognosticators, right? The gods on the left hand side, they're getting their counsel from Esau Edom, the so-called white man, the wicked. Okay, let's read this in the NLT. Isaiah 32:7. The smooth tricks of the scoundrels are evil. They plot crooked schemes and they lie to convict the poor, even when the cause of the poor is just. Okay, and so they're going to be calling us extremists, radicalists, and things like that. Okay, but remember, that's all part of the process. And that's, being hated. Okay, so let me see. So we're in what a social credit system is. Reduce social contradictions. Yeah, so that goes into you're not going to be able to say what you want. Okay. Foster more harmonious society by tracking and rating individuals. Tracking and rating, what are they doing? They're putting you in a category. Okay. They're putting you right into a category, whether you know it or not. That's why they want people to like certain things. You like that? Okay. You commented on that, and then it records it to see if what you are a threat to them. Do you know what they're doing? Revelation 12 and 10. It says, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our power, and the power is the Messiah, for the accuser of thy brethren is cast down, which accuse them before their power day and night. So going back, the good that's set against evil. So Esau Edom is our brethren, but he is the wicked brother. Okay, again, he is the villain of the movie, and we are the righteous. We're coming in the name of Yahweh and Yahawashi, the names of power, while he's denouncing those names by coming with all these other false names. Okay, so when you go into this word accuser, so the word accuse.
Strong's G 2725. Kategaras.
Okay.
Thayer's Lexicon, related entry. Kategor.
Okay, so it just says an accuser, right? Against one, complaint at law. Yeah, Satan. So Satan means adverse to the Holy Scriptures, and Esau Edom is the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon of Satan. Okay, they are actually demonic spirits working miracles on the left-hand side. Okay, so the word accuser, so you go to the root word right here, right? G58, agara. When you go to Revelation 13 and 17, the word by, it goes back to the same word, agara. Okay, remember, because he calls Revelation 13 and 16, he calls it all, both small, great, rich, and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and their forehead. That mark is something physical, the RFID chip, the brain implant. Okay, he going into what the revival of the Roman Empire, okay, which is the beast, which is what NATO and EU, and what America is spearheading the charge of that beast, being what the whore. Okay, So they're the ones that are causing it worldwide because they're leading the charge in the New World Order. These other nations have also signed up for the digital cooperation. They all want the chip, but the thing is that they're divided at the top. So the word agora, okay, which is the marketplace, right? So assembly, especially of people, a place, assembly for debating elections, right? So they're going away from the elections. You're just because what you've been seeing is what the last couple of years or whatever, they've been rigged. As far as openly, they're showing you that it's rigged. Okay, we've known that, right? Public debating, yeah, you want to speak about something, go there. But guess what? Your credit score is going to go down. For trial, you're going to be put on trial. Did you said this comment about the president? Okay, didn't you say this? And again, everything is going to be Big Brother. Okay, how are they tracking and tracing everything with the computers? Okay, with the satellites. Yeah, for buying and selling. So agara, you're not going to be able to buy and sell in the marketplace if you're speaking about speaking against what they're talking about. Okay, because now they're not letting people just have their free speech. They're taking that away. It's going to be become into draconian policies. Okay, so assembly, especially of people, those are going to be 193 countries that invested millions and billions of dollars in the technology to have the chip embedded inside the people's hand and the forehead. Okay, those are going to be those people. They're going to be putting people on trial. Right? So right now they're putting people in what categories? Okay, go to the root word right here. Cato. Let's see what it says right here. Cato, down from, throughout, according, towards, along. Yeah, so right here, cato, to charge. Okay, they're going to be charging people with what? Sedition. Okay, being a dissident. Okay, they're going to try arrange when you go to Wisdom of Solomon 2 and 10, it speaks about the mindset of Esau Edom. And also when you go to this word, so you have that word accuse, categories, then you have the word accuser in the same precept, Revelation 12 and 10. Slack it, bear with me. You have the word accuser, so you have category.
Strong's G 2723. Categareo. Categareo.
Okay. So the word accuser, categorero, right? Which is to accuse before a judge, make an accusation. Okay, what's the accusation? You said something against the president, right? You said he's an Edomite or whatever. Because really, they have legislation where you can't speak about the small hats. That's why we speak in code, because they'll cut the video. Okay, so Trump actually signed legislation in for those anti-small hats that you can be fined or put into prison, and that's what they're beginning to do too with these different protests that are going on. If you're protesting for whatever country, okay, then you can be your funds could be taken away from you. Okay, so showing you they're going straight into because America has always been communist, but they just hide it behind democracy, which democracy brings in what division. Okay, because you're bringing in all these weird things to be liberal. Okay, but it doesn't add up to anything good. Okay, showing you this is the devil. So accusation, right? A charge or a claim that someone has done something illegal and wrong. So in this case, it would be you're speaking out against the government. Okay, where they can be able to arrest you. Because remember, John the Revelator saw Revelation 20 and 4, man being beheaded for the truth. Okay, which is a form of what a fire, a form of what a way to take someone out. Okay, because Trump also spoke about the firing squad. Ways of where they could be able to show basically the whole world how they deal with somebody that's doing something they don't like. Okay, the firing squad, the hanging of people, right? That's to bring fear, right? So for people to comply. So a charge, a claim that someone has done something illegal or wrong, the action or process accusing someone. So they're coming with the allegation. Okay, that's why our protection is in what Yahweh Shema Shai when they come down with these accusations. Because remember that we're just reading the scriptures. Okay, but the Lord spoke about this would happen. Okay, let's see, 21, Luke 21. So when the disciples inquire what shall be the end times, this is what Yahweh Shai said. Okay, which is the things that are happening right now. I want to read in the NLT. Luke 21:8 in the NLT. He replied, "Don't let anyone mislead you, for many shall come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah. I'm saying the time has come, but don't believe them." So you have people, it's not necessarily about I'm the Messiah, it's about their false doctrine. Okay? Then they're not telling you the dark sayings of the scriptures, the parables of the scriptures, because they don't know them. Okay, so they have a form of godliness, but they're actually ravening wolves. Okay, so many will come, basically with deception, right? Luke 21:9. And when you hear wars and insurrections, so insurrections goes into commotions, right? Then we see that on January 6th, right? You're gonna have more and more of that, because what Second Ezra 15 has to, is going to be fulfilled. Okay, when you hear of wars and insurrections, don't panic. Yes, this time these things must take place first, but the end won't follow immediately. Yeah, because the end won't follow immediately because the mark of the beast has to be mandated worldwide in an ointment sense. Okay, that's when the end will come. But we have the beginning stages of World War III, nation against nation. We have the beginning stages of what? Civil unrest. Okay. And the difference in this time is what the technology, the RFID chip. That's the difference. Okay, the ICBM missile, that's the difference. Because the ICBM missile can, once that's fired off, that's the end all be all. Okay, once the RFID chip is mandated, that's the hour of temptation. Okay, so we're right there at that doorstep as far as the technology. Luke 21:10. Then he added, nation will go to war against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Okay, isn't Russia versus America, right? There will be great earthquakes. Aren't they great earthquakes out of biblical proportion? And their famines, aren't the shelves beginning to come empty? Okay, they're beginning to cut off the truck drivers, which no truck drivers means no food at the stores, which means upwards of the people. And there will be terrifying things and great miraculous signs from heaven. Yeah, all them people that died yesterday. Okay, and I believe it was the tornado. Okay, I believe it was like 24. It was I believe some water. And it was like 24 people that had passed. Okay, and that goes into Zephaniah. Let me just look it up, people. Yeah, so you had the Texas flooding updates, deaths in Texas. Okay. So live updates, death toll in Texas, flood rises at least 24 dead. So you have floods going on, okay, which is also spoken about in the scriptures, okay, at a biblical proportion, okay, and they're even using those references when they're speaking on these regular news, NBC, ABC. That you hear them saying that, okay, and there will be terror. That's a terrifying thing when one day you're chilling, right? You got the 4th of July, you got your red, white, and blue. Flag and everything like that, dressed in red, white, and blue. Next thing you know, a flood's coming. Okay, and these things are going to increase. Okay, because remember that Esau Edom on the left-hand side of the Lord, right? He has the heart machines. Okay, where he can be able to create a flood, he can be able to create a drought. They have weapons that they can be able to use to be able to just take out one little neighborhood. Going into these controlling the mind and things like that. Okay, so all these things are going to be laid out. There's going to be terrifying times. Okay, this is not going to be a walk through the park. Okay, just we're speaking it, but to actually live through it, okay, the Lord has to put a heavy spirit upon you. Okay, Job 5 and about 16 goes into that. Okay, that we shall laugh at famine, we shall laugh at death. Okay, because that's what's coming. Okay, Luke 21:11. Those that can see, we can see the vision. We can see it clearly. But going through it is also another thing. Okay, that's why we have constantly, the apostles, elder apostle, Gabar and the elder bishops were speaking on, I believe it was live on a Tuesday, and we're speaking about prayer. When you're leaving your house, make sure you're throwing up that prayer. Okay, and really it's without ceasing. Okay, every time you think of Yah Bashem Ashat, the water Yah Bashem Ashat, because the days are evil. Luke 21:11, it says, there will be great famines, and there will be famines and plagues in many lands, and there will be terrifying things and great miraculous signs from heaven. Because also you have what the spaceships that are in the sky, the so-called UFOs. Those are the chariots of the Lord. Okay. 12. But for all this occurs, so all these things happening, because remember this happened before, but now this time is what the end of this is the time of what our reward. 12. But for all this occurs, there will be a time of great persecution. Okay, great persecution. You will be dragged into the synagogues, into prison. So these different FEMA camps of today. Okay, these detention centers, these alligator Alcatraz, right? And they're gonna have they have more of those. They already have them set up. They're just speaking about it now. Okay, seeing what the vibration is of the people. Are they in an outrage about it? And really, they're not. Okay, because a lot of people are justifying taking these illegal immigrants because they're painting them as all gang members, when they're not all gang members. And the thing is that when they told these people to come in, okay, and that's what happens when you trust in the devil. Okay, he told you to come to America. Now you trusted in the devil. Now he's putting you in alligator Alcatraz, okay, or wherever. Who knows where the people are actually going? Just because they say something doesn't mean that's what it is. Okay, we know lest Satan should get advantage of us, we're not ignorant of his devices. Luke 21:12. But for all this occurs, there will be a time of great persecution. You will be dragged into the synagogues and prisons, and you will stand trial before kings and governors because you are my followers. What does it say in the King James Version? For my name's sake. Okay, for my name's sake, right? Because the only ones that are going to be protected are those that are in the namesake. Those that are not in the namesake, they're not protected at all. They're going to take the chip, okay, or probably be deleted even before that, okay? They're not going to stand the test of time. Only the truth is going to stand, okay, which is the elect. Luke 21:13 in the NLT. But this will be your opportunity to tell them about me. Okay, so don't worry in advance about how to answer the charges against you. For I will give you the right words and such wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to reply or refute you. Yeah, meaning that they won't be able to gainsay nor resist. They're not going to be able to say nothing against the Lord. Okay? Because the Lord's going to be able to touch our mouth to be able to speak what the Lord wants us to speak, just like he's doing right now. Okay? Let's go back up to that. 14. Settle it therefore in your hearts not to meditate before what you shall answer, for I will give you a mouth of wisdom which your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. You shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinfolks and friends. Some of you shall cause to be put to death. Yeah, in 2020 you had where Kamala Harris was saying, to tell on your family if they didn't have the the juice. Okay, so that was a Psalm 64:5. That was a trial run. Okay, so that's gonna come back out again, even worse. Okay, NLT, even those closest to you. So someone that's your family member, you might have raised them as a little child, right? Right. Even those closest to you, your parents, yeah, your mom that raised you, right? Your dad that raised you, right? Brothers, right? Your brother, you guys were close, but then you came into the truth, things got different. Okay, that's why your true brethren is someone that's in the truth with you. Relatives, yeah, your auntie, and friends, yeah, your so-called friends. You thought you had friends at work or whatever. Your friends are, in your neighborhood and stuff like that will betray you. They will even kill some of you. Okay, because again, by them pointing you out and telling you where they're at, they can be able to delete you. Okay, that's why we're trusting in the Lord. 17, and everyone will hate you because you are my followers. So, but that's a great thing. Okay, everyone. Luke 21:17. And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. So when you're hated, that means you're on the right side of things. Okay, but it has to be what hated in what righteousness. Okay, because when you Apostle Paul spoke about suffering wrongfully. Okay, let me actually get that. Suffer. It was actually Peter. 1 Peter 2:19. 1 Peter 2:19. For this is thankful if a man for his conscience towards our power endure grief, suffering wrongfully. For what glory is it when you be buffeted for your faults, you shall take it patiently. But if when you do well and suffer for it, you take it patiently, this is acceptable with the Most High. Yeah, he is pleased, okay, because you're taking the blunt of the force, but you understand that you're doing it in one righteousness, and ultimately the Lord will reward you in the end. Okay? So yeah, what does it say? Slaves, that's the header. 18. 1 Peter 2:18 in the NLT. You are slaves, you must accept the authority of your masters with all respect. Do what they tell you, not only if you're kind and reasonable, but even if they are cruel. For our power is pleased with you when you do what you know is right and patiently endure unfair treatment. Yeah, patiently endure unfair treatment. Okay? Of course, you get no credit for being patient if you are beaten for doing wrong, but if you suffer for doing good and endure it patiently, our power is pleased with you. So in being pleased with you, that is a delight. And he ultimately is going to reward you for that suffering that you have to go through. Because remember, we're going through what the trial and the testimony of our faith. Right? Hebrews 6:10. It says, Hebrews 6:9. But beloved, we are persuaded better things of you and things that accompany salvation through we thus speak. For our power is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which you have showed towards his name. Towards his name. Okay? The name of Yahweh and Yahweh, the names of power. And also goes into the comforter, which is the reputation of the Lord. The name comes with the reputation. Okay? In that you minister to the saints. Who are the saints? The Israelites, the ones that have been anointed with this truth. Okay? And do minister, right? Do serve the Lord. And we desire that every one of you do show the same diligence to the full assurance of hope and to the end. Okay, and the love is what reproving and rebuking your brother. Okay, doing the videos, that's the diligence, reading, right? Studying to show that self-improve. Make sure you're bringing out the correct scriptures. NLT, our great desire is that you will keep on loving others as long as your life lasts, in order to make certain that you would hope for you will come to true. Then you will not become spiritual, dull, and indifferent. Instead, you will follow the example of those who are going to inherit the Most High's promises because of the faith and endurance. So the Lord has given us passages of his own heart that would feed us with what knowledge, wisdom, understanding. They would also be what long suffering. Okay, when you look at the Apostle Dahar, he's been in there 40 years, as far as in the truth. Okay, Apostle Gabar, 35, Apostle Rakal, Apostle Rama, 35, 30 years. Okay, the elder bishops were 30 years, 20 years. Okay, that's being diligent and still working, still on fire for the truth. Okay, these are our examples. Men that are not on fire for the truth, don't follow them, because it's a chance that they're not of the elect. Okay, because the elect would be given diligence to make a call to election sure. Okay, Hebrews 6:11. And that we desire everyone that you show the same diligence to the full assurance of the hope and to the end. That you be not slothful, lazy, but followers of him who brought you through faith and patience inherit the promises. Wasn't Yahushua teaching daily in the temple? So that's the example, right? Don't we see men of the Lord teaching daily, right? So that's the example, okay? Luke 21:17. And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but there shall not a hair of your head perish. In your patience, possess your in your patience. So in you standing firm, possess you your souls. So you have to stand firm on what Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay, that he would be able to what? Save us. In that time of Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation. Okay, when they come with their charge of what? Of sedition, of being a dissident, right? Of being an extremist, of being a radicalist, these certain things. Because remember, our weapons of warfare are not carnal. Our protection is in Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay, so the tracking, that's what I want to go into real quick. Right, so they want to, how are they going to track and trace with that chip inside of you? Right now, how they track and trace is through the debit card and through your cell phone. And also, how they track and trace is what? Through the, through the computer systems, okay, through the cameras. So I want to touch on that. This is Daniel, Psalms 10 and 7. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud under his tongue and mischief and vanity. Okay, and that's what that legislation is. Okay, it's nothing but mischief and what? Vanity, nothing but lies and deception. Okay, and it's not about cursing, swearing like that. It's about the oath that they're making, because they're making an oath to what? To their allegiance, as far as what? To Esau Edom, to the so-called white man. Because remember that these presidents and mayors and governors and senators and things like that, they're nothing but cult of personalities that are ran by the wicked. Okay, so his mouth is full of cursing. How do they speak? They speak with their through their legislation. Okay, remember their words are what? A two-edged sword cutting the socket. This word is a two-edged sword cutting asunder, and their words are what? Razors. Psalms 52 and 2. The tongue deviseth mischiefs are like a sharp razor working deceitfully. Yeah, like a sharp razor working deceitfully. Thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteous. Salah. Thou lovest all devouring words, and thou deceitful tongue. Our power will likewise destroy thee forever. He shall take thee away and pluck thee out of thy dwelling place and root out of thy land of thy living. Salah. Okay? The righteous also shall see and fear and shall laugh at him. Lo, this man that made not thy power his strength, but trusted in the abundance of riches, is strengthened himself in wickedness. But I am like a green olive tree in the house of the Most High. I trust in the mercy of our power forever and ever. Okay, and who's the only people referred to as, to the olive tree? The Israelites. Okay, so Psalms 10 and 7 in the NLT. Their mouths are full of cursing, lies, and threats. Yeah, because they're going to threaten you. If you don't comply with this, then we'll cut off this. We'll separate you from your family, right? Trouble and evil are on the tips of their tongues. They lurk in ambush in the villages, waiting to murder the innocent people. They're always searching for helpless victims, okay? Someone that they can be able to deceive. And their lurking places of the villages are what? These cameras, okay? Because they're watching everybody's every movement, okay? Even when you're going through a cross light, right, of a red light, green light, right, you have what? These cameras that are on the top. They're tracking and tracing your every movement, through the license plate and things like that. Facial recognition, right, geofencing the people. So this is Psalms 10 and 8. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages, and the secret places do he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily. So what are his eyes? His cameras are privily set against the poor. Who are the poor? The so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, so-called Native Americans. Okay? Psalms 10 and 9. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He do catch the poor when he draw them into his net. And what's his net? His money system. Because the money, the dollar that folds, that's going away, and everything is going into what? CBDC, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and that is what? The new net. Okay, and in that net, it's going to have what? A tracking device. Okay, so they can be able to watch your every movement, where you're going. Because remember, Esau Edom has a God complex. Okay, he thinks he is the Most High, so now he wants to put that chip inside of you to be able to, if you say anything against him, they can just shut off that chip. Psalm 17 and 8. Guard me as you would guard your own eyes, and hide me in the shadow of thy wings. Okay, because remember, we are the apple of the Lord's eye, as far as all the Israelites. Okay, but 2/3 of our people are still in darkness. So the Lord's only dealing with his elect, which are the apple of the Lord's eye right now. Okay, so we're praying that the Lord is able to guard us with this knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Okay, let me read this in the King James Version. 8. Keep me as the apple of thy eye, hide me under the shadow of thy wings. For thy wicked oppress me from deadly enemies who can pass me about. So they're compassing us about, what, cutting off our livelihoods, raising up the prices, okay, causing these different uproars in the city, burying aluminum in the air, okay, floods everywhere, earthquakes everywhere, bridges falling down, right? For the wicked, from the wicked oppress me, from the wicked that oppress me, from the deadly enemies who can pass me about. They are enclosed in their own fat. With their mouth they speak proudly. Yeah, they're fat. What is their money? Okay, their fatness. They've got so rich. They think they can do whatever that they want. So now they think they can be able to touch the apple of the Lord's eye. Okay, and the Lord's gonna lift up that standard for His elect. Okay, 11. Slakia. 11. They have now compassed us in our steps. They have set their eyes, their cameras, bowing down to the earth. Yeah, from the inner sky, right? You have the satellites that are looking down at everybody's position, what everybody's doing through their cell phone. Okay, but now they want to have that cell phone embedded inside of you, right? Psalm 17 and 11. They track me down in the NLT. They track me down. How are they tracking you? Through through the debit card, through your social security card, right? A myriad of contracts, right? Like Apostle Gabar says, okay, the birth certificate, the social security card, your driver's license, okay? And now how do they track you? With your phone, your debit card, okay, your financial records. So now they want to put all those records, including a social credit system, a ESG, on that chip. So when you have that chip inside of you, they scan you, there's a digital ID, okay, that comes up, the QR code, quick response code, UPC code, universal product code, comes up, and then they're able to see all your credentials. Okay, that's why they want the mark inside the hand or in the forehead, so they can be able to scan you. That would have the grapho on it, which is the information, your biometrics. Okay, and they would do that through either facial recognition, through them bringing that gradually in, which ultimately will lead to the brain implant, or palm vein biometrics, which is the scanning of the hand. Okay, so that's how they're bringing in their devices through an insidious way that has harmful effects. Okay, so let's read this again. Psalm 17 and 11. They track me down and surround me, watching for a chance to throw me down to the ground, yet to put us in that pit. Okay, they are like hungry lions, eager to tear me apart, and like young lions hiding in ambush. Yeah, so a hungry lion, right, is ready to go. Okay, and they're in the lurking places, right? They're watching everybody's every movement in the vadios, the ghettos, vadios, and the reservations, right? Like lions hiding in ambush, ready to go with their ICE soldiers. Okay, the CIA, the FBI, right? The UN soldiers, right? And this is what David says, Psalm 17 and 13. Arise, O Yahweh, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. And that's what we're praying that the Lord will be able to deliver us from thy sword, which is the left hand of the Lord, which is Esau, Edom. Okay, and how is the Lord going to deliver us? By lifting up that standard. Okay. So when the hour of temptation comes down, the Lord has got us. Okay, because we're praying to him, and we built the relationship with him. Salakia, bear with me. All right, Salakia. So Revelation 2 and 10. Fear none of these things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast you into prison. Okay, these different detention centers, these alligator Alcatrazes, right? These different FEMA camps, right? Fear none of these things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil, right? Devil means deceiver, which is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that shall be tried, going into the trial and the testimony of faith, right? And you shall have tribulation 10 days. So 10, it could be more, it could be less, but 10 goes in perfection. Okay, so as long as you bear your cross. Okay, that's the thing. He that endureth to the end shall be saved. Right? Shall cast some of you into prison, you may be tried. You shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful. Okay, this is where faith comes in. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Okay, a crown of life, which is this knowledge, wisdom, understanding, which will receive the crown of wisdom. Okay, and we're praying that we're able to endure to the end. Okay, and that this evil speaker is put down. Let's get this. And I'll end it right here. This is Psalms 140 and 7. O power, thy Lord, thy strength of my salvation, thou hast covered my head in the day of battle. So covered our head far as our mindset. We're focused on Yahweh Shema Shai and no other. Grant not, O Yahweh, the desires of the wicked. Further not his wicked device, lest I also exalt themselves. Salah. So what's the wicked device? The New World Order. And what's part of the New World Order? The actual chip being inside the people's hand or the forehead. Okay, that's the desires of the wicked. Okay. 9. As for the head of those that can pass me about, let the mischief of their own lips cover them. So the head of those that can pass me about, that's Esau, Edom. This is our enemies. Okay, the mischief of their own lips. What are they speaking about? The big, beautiful bill, which in it has what? Geofencing, tracking, and tracing. Okay, ultimately locking down people, and whatever that they say, they're not going to be able to speak about it through what? Palator, that company. Okay, which is what going into what rating everybody's data and what they say and what they do. There's basically no secrets. Psalms 140 and 10. Let the burning coals fall upon them. Let them cast into a fire. Okay, because of that mischief, that tongue that they're speaking with, into the deep pits, they shall rise not up again. Yeah, they're not going to rise up after this destruction, because this is going to be destruction that's going to be remembered forever. And the destruction of Babylon the Great, okay, is going to be what? A great lake of fire. After that fire dies down, then it won't be a memorial, or of what happens when you strive against the Lord. It will be a desert land full of what? Owls and jackals and desert creatures, right? It will never be built back up again. It speaks about in Jeremiah that it will never, no stone will ever be used again. So Psalms 140 and 10. Let the burning coals fall upon them. Let them be cast into the fire. Yeah, that lake of fire, which is America, into the deep pits that rise not up again. Let not the evil speaker be established in the earth. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow them. Who's that violent man? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Okay, I know that Lord Yahweh will maintain the cause of his afflicted and the right of the poor. Yeah, the so-called the elect. Okay, surely the righteous shall give thanks unto thy name. The name. Surely the righteous shall give thanks unto the name of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, the names of power. The upright, the hopeful elect shall dwell in the presence. Yeah, dwell in the presence of Yahweh Shema Shai. So with that, call it Yahweh Shema Shai, Shema Kakadash, until elect. Kwame Shalom.